So the Coug tackle, this is the main type of tackle we talk about. And for us, right, this tackle is mostly made with DBs and linebackers. Sometimes it's a D-line tackle, but not very often, right? So it's a shoulder leverage contact tackle that makes contact at the ball carrier's thighs, right? We talk about having eyes to the thighs or cheek to cheek. We want to wrap, squeeze, and drive for 5 if necessary, right? So you don't need a lot of space right here to create a big, a lot of power. And so this is Bruce Lee doing his little 6-inch punch. And you can see that's just 6 inches. He's knocking the guy back. So we talk about, getting same foot, same shoulder. Sometimes we say get our foot in the hoop, but we're going to be really, really close to the guy when we make dominant contact. And you don't need a ton of space, right? So we want to dip late and have dominant, powerful contact on the ball carrier. Just a nice, easy 6-inch punch right there, right? So we show them examples of rugby players doing this. So you can see here's a rugby player coming to make what we call a Coug tackle. He makes contact left with his his right shoulder, right foot. His head's out of contact. He's cheek to cheek. He's got 2 arms around 2 legs. Makes dominant contact. Takes the ball carrier down. It matters in everything, right? So here we are running down on kickoff right here. Our 2 right here, who's really a contained player. You'll see jersey number 44 run down the field. Ends up shedding the block, makes contact. This is a really good example of somebody getting 2 arms around 2 legs. You can see he's got 2 arms around 2 legs. He's wrapped, squeezed the ball carrier, and taking his butt down. Here we are in the spring, right? So here's one of our outside linebackers. He's going to end up, they're going to hand this ball off on a duo play, and you can see he works to take the dive. He comes back down, and you can see as he dips late, right, he pops his chest. He's got 2 arms around 2 legs. He wraps, squeezes, and takes the ball carrier down. All right, here we are, jersey number 15, one of our other outside linebackers here, right? So they're going to end up running the screen tunnel play. He does a good job of trying to engage the ball carrier, sheds the block, and he keeps his right shoulder leverage, and you'll see here he makes contact, right? Would love to see his right foot up, right? He ends up making right shoulder, left foot contact, but he does a great job of running his feet, you'll see here, and driving for 5 and knocking the ball carrier back. All right, here's one of our corners, number 31 right here in the boundary. So they're going to run the bluff play. Right? They end up running split zone bluff. They try to crack our safety, which is fine in the box. Our corner comes up, right? Ends up making right foot, right shoulder contact, drives his feet, wraps, squeezes, and rolls, holds the guy up. We end up getting him down, right? So these are powerful tackles, but we're also being safe as we tackle here, right? So here's another example. This is going to be our tackle, right? Our boundary tackle here. So you can see, right, he does a good job of disengaging the block, right? A lot of times this becomes what we call a profile tackle, but sometimes you have to change the strike zone in it, right? AJ right now is probably thinking it's going to be a profile or a pet tackle, right? The ball carrier dips down low, so AJ's got to change his strike zone himself, makes right foot, right shoulder contact, ends up taking the guy down, right? So those are some examples of what we call a Coug tackle. Now for us, right, a roll tackle is all the same coaching points, right? It's a shoulder leverage tackle that makes contact at the ball carrier's thighs, but now we're going to end up rolling them to the ground. So we want to teach, right, the Coug, what we call the Coug tackle, and the profile or a pet tackle first, right? And then we roll into the roll tackle, right? The roll tackle is a reaction. We don't want to make contact with the ball carrier and think we're just going to roll right away, right? We end up rolling with our own momentum. So we usually teach us talking about rolling to our leverage. Well, sometimes you end up working against that, right? Well, if I'm going to attack somebody, I'm a right shoulder player, all my momentum's taking me this way, right? I'm naturally probably going to end up rolling that way. So the big coaching points is still eyes to the thighs, cheek to cheek, wrap, squeeze, and now if I have to roll, I'm going to roll. Some people call it a gator roll. We just call it a roll tackle, right? So you can see here, the ball carrier's momentum's working away from him, so he's tracking this thing. He might have lost leverage, right, but he ends up making contact, right at the ball carrier's thighs, right, cheek to cheek. He gets 2 arms around 2 legs. He wraps, squeezes, and rolls right there to take the ball carrier down. Well, this shows up in every phase of the game. A lot of times it happens in kicking game too, right? So you can see, right, number 19, our right flyer out here on the far side, right, is running, blows past that guy. It's a beautiful punt. That's exactly where we want the ball to go right here. So 19 is really, in theory, you'd want him to be a left shoulder player. He ends up losing a little bit of leverage, but now he just changes it. He's a right shoulder lever tackler, right, ends up making contact, right, cheek to cheek, wrap, squeeze, rolls, and gets the guy down on a really nice play. All right, so here we are in the spring. So we're going to look at jersey number 8 right here. Our strong safety is working to fill the box. Right, this thing pops. You can see 8 ends up coming up, makes contact, right foot, right shoulder. It's not 100% a thick tackle, right? We would prefer him to be thick, right foot, right shoulder, Coug tackle. It ends up getting away from him a little bit, but 8 does a really nice job of using his arms, wrap, squeezing, and rolling, and taking the ball carrier down to the ground. Here's another example from us in the spring. All right, so now it's another one of our outside linebackers who's coming over here, 55 from the outside in, right, ends up bending back. This is what happens a lot of times. Like you can see, right, he's jetting up the field. This thing ends up getting handed off. So he's kind of, 55 is really bending and coming back on this thing, Thule is, right? And you can see as he bends, right, he takes that negative angle to have to retrace right here, right? Ends up making contact the exact same way, cheek to cheek, does a great job of using his arms, and now because of the negative angle, he ends up having to roll right to his with his momentum and takes the ball carrier down. All right. Here's another really good example here. This is going to be jersey number 8. Control Webb, right, coming down from the high safety spot right here. Right, we end up getting pinned. All right, we've lost leverage. 15 loses leverage. That's not what we want, right? But as the ball bounces, you can see 8 ends up tracking this thing inside out, ends up making contact to the ball carrier's thighs, right? You can see right there, cheek to cheek, right? His right cheek is on his butt cheek right now, right? He uses his arms, wrap, squeeze, rolls, takes the ball carrier down. Really could have been a really bad play for the Cougars, right? Ends up being a really good play for us, right? Here's another good example. We're in our spring game here. All right, so they end up running a screen. And so now it's like, oh, crap time, right? So you can see right now our nickel right here, Juwan Gaston, right, ends up dropping in his coverage, right? And now, right, he ends up, right, it's ball over block. Like we talked to guys about side subject, right, screen blocks. Really, this is just like kickoff now, right? So he ends up going, ball side vertical on it. Right, tracks the ball carrier, shoots his arms, not a thick tackle. Again, would love to see him thicker, but Juwan does a heck of a job of using his arms on the tackle, wrap, squeezing, and rolling, and takes the guy down. And you can see he's fighting. Right now, he's got one arm on him, just his left arm. Juwan does a great job of grabbing this guy's foot with his right hand, wrap, squeezing, and taking him down and getting a TFL, which is a huge play right there. All right, so the profile tackle. This is a tackle for us that happens a little bit more in the box, all right? Sometimes it happens on the edge, but for us, it's more of a D-line linebacker thing. But it's the same coaching points as you see, right? It's a shoulder lever tackle, but now contact gets made at the ball carrier's pecs, right? Before the Coug and the roll tackle, we're going low. Right now, this one's going to end up making contact a little bit higher on his pec, right? But it's the same coaching points. We're going to attack the near pec. We want to wrap, squeeze, and we're going to drive for 5 if necessary. So here's a really good clip in the rugby world, right? You can see 10's got the ball here. My man in the green is coming up. He's tracking him. He ends up making contact right here, right foot for him, right shoulder, right? He's hit his pec. He wraps, squeezes, and takes the ball carrier down. These guys don't have helmets on. So, like, we showed our guys this film, and they were all like, ooh, wow. Like, yeah, man, these dudes are doing the same stuff we're doing, but they ain't got no helmets on, right? And so you can see here, right, we end up making contact, right, with our left shoulder. We'd like to see the left foot in the ground, but that's a dominant contact right there for that guy. So here's a couple examples of us in the spring. All right, so this is coming from the outside over here. Right, you can see number 45, right, ends up coming underneath the block right now, ends up hitting this guy up high, right? So you can see he ends up making contact, right foot, right shoulder, right here. It's a little bit higher tackle than what we would like, right? A lot of our tackles are Coug tackles. This is in the box, runs his feet, takes the ball carrier down, big time TFL right there, right? Here's another example. Here's number 36. Our Mike linebacker, right, working to fill the gap, right? The tackle tries to get him, misses him, right? Does a great job of popping and ripping vertical off the block. Bam, contact's made. And it's